Hello, this is Harold Reed, and welcome to another episode of the Ice Talks, where we implement change every day. Hey, how you doing? Harold S. Reed Jr. here, also known as HRJR, your motivational coach. If you don't know what motive action means, motive plus action equals results, and results equals success. Welcome back to another episode of the Ice Talks. Listen, I promise I'm going to go back to making these podcasts come out on a more regular and consistent basis. I just had a lot going on in my life. The law of attraction is really coming positive to me. It's really working for me. Things that I've been going through are really starting to turn around and come to fruition. I've had a series of new responsibilities thrust upon me that I'm just thriving with. So what I want you to understand is that there is good in this world for you. There is good in this world that happens to you. But sometimes you just got to go through some things to get to some things. So with that said, let me get started on what I want to talk about today. And this is not necessarily going to be the pump you up podcast. In fact, it may be somewhat the exact opposite. In recent news, a fashion designer, I believe she designs women's handbags or whatever, Kate Spade, passed away. She took her own life, to be more specific. So today I want to talk to you about suicide. And I'm not going to get into stats. I'm not going to get into, a whole lot of different people who have taken their own lives. I want to stress the importance of knowing that you're not alone. No matter how hard your road may seem, no matter how tough the struggle you're going through. And let me tell you something. I've been through some struggles. Like I just got through saying, you got to go through some things to get to some things. And it seems like it's hard. It seems like there's no way out. It seems like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. You just haven't gone far enough to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But it's there. It's there. When you come across a tunnel that there's no light at the end of, or of which there is no light at the end, I'm going to get my proper grammar on, that's no longer a tunnel. That's a grave. And that's what suicide is. Suicide is failing to continue to look for the light at the end of the tunnel. It's losing your faith. It's having to see that light without believing that it's there. You have to see it in order to believe it. And because you don't see it day after day after day and struggle after struggle after struggle, you don't see that light. You begin to lose faith and lose belief that light even exists. And when you lose faith and belief that light even exists, then it ceases to exist. And for many people, they tend to take out their own light. See, what I want you to understand is the light at the end of the tunnel isn't sunlight. It isn't an electric light. It isn't a solar-powered light. The light at the end of the tunnel is you. You are the light at the end of the tunnel. You are the greatness on the other side of the struggle. I did a podcast, I think it was my last podcast, in fact, where I said that the sweetest place on earth is the other side of the struggle. You are the other side of the struggle. You're a better person. You're a stronger person. But see, the problem that we have, or that a lot of people have, is that we get caught up in seeing someone who appears to have everything. They appear to have all the money. They can go wherever they want. They can travel the world. They can go into a store, not have to ask how much anything costs. They can just buy whatever they want. They could be like when Michael Jackson was on that shopping spree where he just went into the store in Bangladesh or wherever he was and was like, yes, we'll take one of those and we'll take 7 of those and we'll take 18 of those. And dude walked out of the store having spent almost $250,000. Okay, but we look at these people who appear to be rich and famous and successful, or who may very well be rich, famous, and successful, And we assume that because they have all of the financial trappings that go along with that wealth and success and the fame and the fortune and whatnot, we assume that they're happy. And a lot of times these people are not happy. This is what happened with this woman who just took her own life. All right. She wasn't happy. And she had I believe she left behind a 13-year-old daughter. I mean, come on, let me share with you this much. I went through some things a few years ago, about 7-8 years ago to be exact, regarding my retirement from the police department. I didn't do 20 years, but long story short, I was involved in an on-duty accident and someone passed away. As a result of that accident. I wasn't charged with anything, but in the long run of things, I didn't want to do the job anymore. It bothered me, The one thing I wasn't prepared for was somebody dying and me being involved, and there was absolutely nothing I could do to avoid it or help it or stop it or whatever, and I had undergone therapy, so I'll briefly talk about therapy in a minute. And it was my therapist who suggested that I consider retiring early. And what wound up happening was, because when you go to make a change and a major shift in your life, the snakes in the grass will come out of the grass. They will come for you. And someone at my job went to someone on the state pension board and told them, Harold Reed doesn't have post-traumatic stress. Harold Reed is faking. Harold Reed is a motivational speaker. Harold Reed has videos on YouTube where he's doing motivational speaking. Harold Reed is doing speaking tours. Harold Reed done wrote a book about blah, 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 and so Harold Reed is fake. So a process that should have taken about 5-6 months actually took somewhere around 11 months or really a long damn time. Okay. I wound up going through from May to November of 2011 with no income, virtually no income. Yet my car stayed home, my family stayed fed, my lights stayed on. God is good. I had good people supporting me, so I knew I wasn't alone, but at the same time, there were times that I felt I was alone. There were times that I believed that I would be better off had I eaten my gun. Yes, I'll openly admit that there were times during this spell that I thought about taking my own life. But here's what kept me grounded. Couple of things. One, I didn't want my boys to have to grow up without me. Two, I didn't want to put that burden on my wife of having to raise 2 boys without me or without a man. And then third, I don't want some other dude that she finds or whatever coming into my life raising my sons his way. That's my job. Those are my boys. So it was my family that was the primary force that kept me away from doing something incredibly stupid. Okay, so I can't understand why this woman has a beautiful, I would presume a beautiful 13-year-old daughter, and she couldn't find some type of solace or help or what have you in just living in the joy of raising that beautiful child. I mean, that's what worked for me. That and the fact that I was going through therapy. Therapy is very important. If you find yourself needing someone to talk to, there are people out there who will help you, who will talk to you, who will guide you and not judge you. See, I think people avoid therapy or the therapeutic process because they're afraid of being judged. I was afraid of being judged. I mean, I did not want to see myself or be seen as the broken toy, when in fact, that's exactly what I was. And again, I give you my 3F formula: face it, fight it, free yourself from it. Once I was able to face the fact that there were areas in me that were broken, that were permeating into other areas in my life and thus breaking those areas in my life, once I was able to acknowledge that for what it was, I could begin to not only fight, but actually fix. I might have to change my 3F formula to fix, because those things that were broken, once I faced it, I was able to fix. So I fought through fixing what those issues and what those problems were, and thus have since been able to free myself from it. Another thing I did to ease my mind was I took real estate classes. I went and got my real estate license because I wasn't going to kill myself. And if my pension hearings didn't go through the right way, I had to do something to make some money. So basically, I had to make sure that I had income coming in, that there was some money coming in to feed this family that I had. And so I took real estate classes. And the funny thing was, they say that an idle mind is the devil's workshop. So I wanted the devil out of my damn house. I wanted the devil out of my house. I wanted the devil out of my mind. And so going to take those real estate classes is what kept my mind active, because Monday through Thursday, I'd be in class from, say, 8 to 3, and then I would go to the library and study from, say, like 3:30 to 5 or 3:30 to 6, and then Friday I'd spend the whole day in the library. And I did that for, the 6 to 8 weeks or however long the course was. And then by the time that all worked itself out, I was doing real estate for a hot minute, and my pension came through, and I didn't have to do real estate anymore. So I was able to walk away from real estate, having made all my money back that I invested in real estate school and everything. So it wasn't a loss, and I gained a few bucks and a lot of experience. So there are things that we can do when times seem rough, when times seem at their, rock bottom, that you can pull yourself up. If you are at rock bottom, there's nowhere else to go but up. So start getting up. Start digging yourself out of that hole. Find somebody to talk to. Find some people to help you. Pray. If that's what worked for you, pray. Prayer works, it changes things. Quoting Steve Harvey. Okay? But it does. It does. Because even if you don't believe you're talking to some mystical being in the sky, you are talking to the greatness that exists within you. Sometimes we need to be our biggest cheerleader more so than our harshest critic. I tell people all the time, there's nobody that could be harder on me than I am on myself. But at the same time, and this is what many people dislike about me, there is no one who will cheer for me harder than I will cheer for myself. Let me end with this. I learned this from Les Brown talking about this topic many years ago. Suicide is nothing more than a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Let me say that again. Suicide is nothing more than a permanent solution to a temporary problem. As long as you have the opportunity to wake up and see another day, you have the opportunity to fight through those 24 hours and dig yourself out of that hole, whatever kind of hole it may be, and get yourself right. Oh my God, these past few months, I end every year with goals to make the next year a better financial year, but something always happens. At the end of the month, somebody got their hand out. Some bill comes due. Some bill that I forgot about that I didn't pay, they come hunting me down. Somebody got their hand out. Somebody needs some help. Somebody's got to, get dug out of a hole themselves, and I got to help them because I love them and I want good karma in my life. But I have to take on that hole myself. There is a brighter side. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. You are the light at the end of the tunnel. Do not give up on yourself. Do not give up on your hopes. Do not give up on your dreams. Do not give up on your goals. Do not find yourself in a position where you are taking the road of a permanent solution to a temporary problem. This has been Harold S. Reed, and thank you for listening to the Ice Talks, where we implement change every day.